Just minutes ago, Prince William broke his silence, confirming what palace insiders had feared for months. Meghan Markle's royal future has taken a tragic, irreversible turn. Behind the glossy smiles and royal protocol lies a tale of rejection, heartbreak, and vengeance. This announcement isn't just a statement, it's a seismic shift that could redefine the monarchy as we know it. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. It was a moment no one expected. Prince William, stoic and measured as ever, stepping forward with a message that cut through years of speculation like a blade. "Circumstances have evolved," he began, but the words that followed shattered any illusion of reconciliation. Describing Meghan's ongoing presence within royal circles as no longer tenable, he did not mince words. Royal watchers were left stunned, scrambling to decipher the full weight of his carefully crafted tone. This wasn't a slip or a vague royal deflection, it was a declaration. The press barely had time to digest it before palace aides descended into chaos. Crisis mode erupted across all levels of communication within the firm. As media requests poured in from across the globe, senior advisors held emergency meetings behind the scenes to control what was quickly spiraling into a royal wildfire. But what made this moment even more jarring was the silence from Buckingham Palace. No confirmation, no elaboration, just a void. That vacuum of response only magnified the speculation. Rumors exploded across social media and tabloid headlines, each theory more explosive than the last. And while the public hungered for clarity, Meghan's own team was blindsided. Sources close to her suggest she was given no notice, no warning, not even a whispered heads up. As the news broke, she was reportedly mid-preparation for an upcoming initiative with a global women's rights organization. That meeting was cancelled immediately. Staff members described an air of confusion and quiet devastation. Meanwhile, Harry's reaction revealed the depth of the wound. One insider painted a haunting image. He stood frozen, unable to process the weight of what his brother had just confirmed. The bond between the princes, already hanging by a thread, was now irreparably severed in public view. Those closest to Harry describe his emotional state as shattered. Behind the scenes, attempts were made to reach Clarence's house for clarity, but all communication was swiftly rerouted to a standard no-comment line. The only hint of palace sentiment came from a leaked message in a private WhatsApp group among royal aides. "We were told this might come, but not like this." This wasn't just another family dispute. It was an institutional fracture laid bare. The contrast between the monarchy's carefully curated image and the raw reality behind the scenes had never felt so stark. The royal machine, once known for its ironclad unity, now appeared fragile, exposed, and cornered. And yet, this moment, so sudden, so jarring, was merely the public face of something deeper. Far beneath the surface, the roots of this fallout had been growing for years, watered by resentment, betrayal, and power, plays both silent and brutal. But to understand how we got to this breaking point, we must step back into a royal feud simmering far longer than anyone realized. For months, whispers echoed through Windsor's ancient halls, hints that Meghan's royal privileges were being quietly revoked. While the world focused on ceremonial smiles, behind closed doors, relationships were collapsing, loyalties tested, and shadows growing darker. It began subtly, an invitation misplaced here, a name left off a guest list there. Official explanations ranged from administrative errors to calendar miscommunications, but those who had seen the machinery of the monarchy at work knew better. Invitations to key royal events that once bore Meghan's name arrived with a chilling absence. Spring garden parties, charitable galas, even the royal remembrance service all passed without her presence, and each time the silence was louder than the last. Staff at the palace grew tight-lipped, eyes darting when her name was mentioned. Word spread that junior aides had been given new directives: reduce direct communication with the Sussexes unless instructed otherwise. A wall was being built not of stone, but of silence and erasure. Those few public appearances that did occur were riddled with tension. Observers noted the chilling body language at the Commonwealth Day service, where Meghan and Kate, stood merely feet apart yet worlds away in expression. Kate, usually the epitome of grace, reportedly refused eye contact throughout the event. Meghan, visibly tense, offered smiles that never reached her eyes. By the time the service concluded, rumors were already swirling of a private confrontation that had taken place just minutes before behind cathedral doors. Whether it happened or not, what mattered more was the narrative. The facade was cracking. In November, the frost became undeniable. During an intimate family gathering to mark King Charles's birthday, a sharp exchange between father and son erupted over what royal aides have described as a matter of finality. Harry had allegedly pushed for clarity, pleading for a definitive answer about Meghan's place in future engagements. But Charles's response was cold, final. "This is no longer about preference. It's about preservation," he reportedly said. The tension was thick enough to fracture the already brittle lines between them. That very night, sources from inside Clarence House leaked a grim message to the press. A decision had been made. And it will stand. Meghan, far from insulated, seemed to feel the tremors. Her usually uplifting online presence shifted subtly, disturbingly. Gone were the affirmations and cheerful notes. In their place came cryptic captions, "Some roots rot from within," she wrote beneath a photo of a wilting rose. Another post read simply, "What they fear most is your voice." No names were mentioned, but none were needed. The message was clear. Meghan was not just watching her royal identity dissolve, she was documenting its burial. Through it all, the public remained mostly unaware, distracted by headlines and handshakes. But within the walls of the palace, the silence was no longer peace, it was warning. Something irreversible was taking shape. One by one, the bridges Meghan had tried to walk were being torched behind her, and the path ahead grew darker with every step. But the frost between Meghan and the royals didn't start overnight. It was the result of years of silent wars and behind-the-scenes power plays. Behind palace doors, a confrontation unfolded that would shape Meghan's fate. Prince William, once silent, delivered an ultimatum to his father, a choice between royal duty and the chaos Meghan's presence represented. It wasn't diplomacy, it was war. The setting was Sandringham Grand, remote, and steeped in centuries of monarchy. But this gathering wasn't ceremonial, it was a crisis meeting. The usual calm of the estate was broken by what insiders later described as a brutal recalibration of the monarchy's future. William, calm but seething beneath the surface, demanded what he called a red line. In his eyes, the royal institution was bleeding credibility. The optics of Meghan's continued association were, in his words, unsustainable. The scandals, the interviews, the private grievances turned public. He saw them as an infection. And William had no interest in containment. He wanted amputation. Charles, caught between his heir and his youngest son, hesitated. He had spent years walking the tightrope, trying to modernize the image of the crown while clinging to the ancient expectations that defined it. But time was running out. He knew that any decision would cost him something or someone. And still, William pressed harder, allegedly warning that failing to act now would mean handing over the crown to chaos. The tension in the room was unbearable. Every glance carried years of buried resentment. Every silence was louder than the last. And just when it seemed the family might reach some form of delicate compromise, Camilla shattered the illusion of neutrality. In a tone described as cold and calculated, Camilla reportedly backed William with cutting precision. "She's a destabilizing force," she said, referring to Meghan without hesitation. "And we've indulged her long enough." It was a moment of clarity, brutal and unapologetic. Camilla, long criticized, was now protecting the very institution she'd once been blamed for shaking. The irony didn't go unnoticed, and in that moment, the tide turned. Meghan was not invited to the summit, not consulted, not even mentioned directly. Her exclusion was total, strategic, and devastating. Harry, once eager to believe his wife could be part of the family, now faced the chilling reality of what that family had decided. The fallout from that summit rippled fast. Within days, the Queen's former advisor, an expert in handling institutional collapses, was quietly brought back in. Not officially, not publicly. But those who recognized the pattern saw it clearly. The palace was bracing for impact. What had once been whispered possibilities were now being drafted into action. Meghan's chapter was being closed, and not by her. But what no one inside Sandringham had anticipated was how quickly she would strike back. And as William stood firm in the storm, Meghan was already preparing for her own counterplay, one that would ignite even deeper fractures. With her royal standing crumbling, Meghan made a final emotional appeal. It wasn't to the crown, it was to William himself. But what she offered and what she revealed would change everything. There are moments in royal history that never make headlines, yet they shape the legacy of the monarchy more than any coronation or ceremony ever could. This was one of them. After the Sandringham summit, with the palace machinery moving swiftly to sever remaining ties, Meghan refused to let the narrative close without a fight. She wasn't reaching out for sympathy or spectacle. This was personal. According to those close to the Sussexes, the request for a private conversation came directly from Meghan, but it was Harry who delivered it. And it wasn't sent through official royal channels. It came quietly, handwritten and sealed. The intended recipient? William. What followed was a meeting that remains shrouded in secrecy. But the few details that have emerged paint a picture of raw emotion, shattered hope, and irreversible choices. In a confidential location far from the press and public, Meghan and William sat down, no aides, no scripts, just a final plea. For Meghan, this was not a confrontation but a reckoning. She reportedly began not with accusations, but with vulnerability. Her voice, sources claim, cracked as she confessed fears that she was being erased not just from the royal narrative, but from history itself. She spoke of how charity partners had begun distancing themselves, how the media had turned venomous, and how the silence from the palace felt like a death sentence. And then came the offer. Meghan wasn't begging for full reinstatement. She proposed something far more measured, even strategic, a partial withdrawal. She would cease all media projects, reduce appearances, and commit to a restructured role that allowed for both distance and dignity. In essence, she offered a royal compromise to a royal institution famously allergic to middle ground. But William's face, according to insiders, betrayed no shift. If anything, it hardened. He reportedly listened in silence before replying with a cold but calculated reminder, "This isn't about feelings, it's about consequences." He referenced past interviews, lawsuits, the Netflix docuseries, and behind-the-scenes behavior that, in his words, undermined the institution again and again. Meghan didn't argue. She simply stood, her voice breaking once more, and left. Palace insiders later shared that she returned to Harry in tears, whispering just one sentence that would echo through the walls of Montecito for days. He's already decided. It was over, and this time, not even love, logic, or legacy could save what remained. Those present at the palace that evening say the energy shifted completely. The decision, though not announced, had crystallized. Meghan had played her final card, and it had been thrown back across the table. But if Meghan was falling, she wasn't going quietly, and the next move she made would send shockwaves across both sides of the Atlantic. What began as a royal fracture exploded into a transatlantic battlefield. Meghan, cornered and rejected, activated her most powerful weapon, the global media. Her message was clear: she had nothing left to lose. For weeks after her failed appeal to William, Meghan disappeared from the public eye. Many assumed she was retreating, broken by the royal machinery that had once embraced her, and then discarded her without ceremony. But what looked like silence was, in fact, strategy. Inside the gates of her Montecito estate, cameras began to reappear quietly at first, then with growing confidence. A familiar production crew from Netflix was seen entering with non-disclosure agreements in hand. Their presence wasn't speculative, it was coordinated. Meghan was preparing to speak not through official statements or filtered interviews, but through the one thing the palace feared most: unfiltered truth, told on her terms, with the world watching. The teaser dropped like a thunderclap across social media. Just one line, whispered yet haunting: "The crown silenced me. Now I speak." In seconds, hashtags exploded, headlines ignited, and royal insiders scrambled. What had long been kept behind closed doors was now being packaged for global consumption. But this wasn't a tell-all, it was a reckoning. Leaked snippets hinted at damning footage from the early days of Meghan's royal integration. Clips that had been recorded privately, smiles behind stiff glances, moments of isolation during official engagements, and off-camera whispers that hinted at exclusion and resentment. None of it was staged. All of it was real. As Meghan moved into full narrative control, Harry's silence grew heavier. Sources close to the couple revealed he was torn deeply. His loyalty to Meghan was unwavering, but the weight of what this media storm would do to his remaining ties to his father, brother, and country was suffocating. One insider described him as struggling emotionally, caught between love and legacy. He wasn't the architect of this next chapter, but he was undeniably in its shadow, and the palace knew it. Legal teams were quickly mobilized, combing through past agreements, scouring for any breach of confidentiality they could weaponize. Yet the threat of lawsuits paled in comparison to the power of public perception. British media, always volatile in its treatment of Meghan, turned savage. Betrayal became the word of the hour. Columnists demanded her titles be stripped immediately. Politicians called her a constitutional liability. Pundits dissected every word of her teaser, every frame of leaked footage. But the louder the criticism, the more curious the public became. Meghan wasn't retreating, she was expanding. What had once been a royal scandal had now evolved into a cultural uprising, questioning the very heart of Britain's most sacred institution. The monarchy was rattled. For the first time in decades, it had lost control of the narrative. But the fallout was far from over. Meghan had thrown the match, the flames were rising, and just as the firm began bracing for impact, someone unexpected re-emerged from the shadows, someone whose voice would carry the final weight of judgment. But as Meghan reclaimed her voice, a new player re-entered the arena, one whose decision would ultimately seal her fate. King Charles had remained silent until now. Facing pressure from both sides, he addressed the nation not with anger, but with sorrow. What he said left the public stunned, and Meghan's future in ruins. The statement was brief, but its weight was undeniable. After months of whispers, fractures, and public spectacle, the monarch himself emerged stoic yet visibly burdened to deliver a message that would reverberate across the Commonwealth. In a tone that blended mourning with finality, Charles spoke of the inescapable balance between family unity and institutional survival. It was the most revealing admission from a reigning monarch in decades, a rare peek into the tension between blood and duty. He did not mention Meghan by name, but the meaning was crystal clear. The institution could not, and would not, bend any further. What followed was the blow Meghan had feared and perhaps expected. Her remaining patronages were officially revoked. Her royal privileges, quietly maintained out of respect, were now publicly and permanently stripped. The symbolic thread connecting her to the crown had been cut, not with malice, but with regal precision. Those who had hoped for diplomacy were left in disbelief. And those who had warned of this inevitability whispered bitterly, "It's been done." But what stunned many wasn't just the action, it was the tone. Palace aides described Charles's demeanor not as vindictive, but as grieving. One insider went so far as to call the address an elegy for a daughter-in-law we tried to love but failed to hold. It was a rare human glimpse of a monarch caught in the wreckage of his own bloodline's implosion. The decision, according to sources close to the king, had not come easily. He had reportedly delayed it for weeks, agonizing over the fallout, the press, the personal cost. But in the end, tradition won and Meghan lost everything. The backlash from Harry's inner circle was immediate and fierce. Privately, they called it a public execution in royal language. One friend of the couple went even further, declaring, "This is exile in everything but name." There would be no return, no redemption, no compromise. Meghan was now a royal in name only, her future no longer part of the family's carefully preserved narrative. What remained was her voice, her platform, and the fury of those who believed she had been pushed out, not stepped away. Yet even as the monarchy tried to reassert control, the consequences of this rupture were being calculated elsewhere. Behind closed doors in Westminster, murmurs began to circulate about the long-term optics of the monarchy's internal war. Parliamentarians questioned the public image of a fractured family heading into a new era of kingship. Could a crown so shaken still command unquestioned loyalty? Was this the royal future Britain needed or the one it feared? And just when it seemed the tragedy had reached its peak, Prince William added one more line, one sentence that changed everything. Standing before cameras, William didn't hold back. His words, measured yet final, served as both an end and a warning. For Meghan, it was a tragic confirmation. For the world, it was a revelation. In a moment that felt more like a royal reckoning than a press engagement, the Prince of Wales delivered a message the monarchy had long been building toward. There was no anger in his voice, no bitterness in his tone, just icy certainty. He confirmed what the palace had spent months preparing for behind closed doors. Meghan Markle would not return in any royal capacity. Not now, not ever. The words weren't shouted, they were delivered with quiet finality, the kind that stings deeper than rage. William spoke of duty, of stability, and of the weight his generation now carried. He framed the decision not as punishment, but as preservation. Healing, he said, must happen outside the institution, not within it. To those familiar with royal code, the message was blisteringly clear. There would be no half measures, no re-entry, no forgiveness cloaked in protocol. William had drawn a line in the sand, not just for Meghan, but for anyone who challenged the integrity of the institution from the outside. And in doing so, he subtly redirected attention toward the future, his children. With precision, he spoke of the need to protect the next generation of royals from uncertainty born of blurred loyalties and public spectacles. It was a not-so-veiled reference to the turbulence Meghan and Harry had brought with them. George and Charlotte were to be shielded from it all. The tone shifted from defensive to offensive in seconds. What shocked insiders most wasn't what William said it was, that he said it aloud. The palace, long known for avoiding confrontation, had now made its stance brutally public. Meghan's team, according to sources, had anticipated silence. Instead, they got a global declaration. One aide close to her reportedly gasped this wasn't supposed to be public, as the footage of William's statement played on international broadcasts. The impact was instant. Across Britain and beyond, reactions split sharply. Some hailed William as the future king, taking a necessary stand, upholding the dignity of the crown in an age where it was constantly challenged. Others grieved the moment as one of irreversible loss, a reminder that compassion had lost to control and family to formality. The timing of William's statement, so soon after Charles's, only heightened its impact. It was coordinated, strategic, and devastatingly effective. For those who doubted that the firm could still act as one, the message was unmistakable. William wasn't just his father's heir, he was the enforcer of a legacy, and he had just made it clear that there was no room left for rebellion. But the tragedy doesn't lie only in words, it lives in what was lost and what could have been, had things gone differently. This wasn't just about titles and protocols. It was about a woman who once believed she could change the monarchy from within. Now she faces a future stripped of legacy, connection, and the one thing she fought hardest to protect, her voice. What began as a hopeful entry into one of the world's most revered institutions has now closed with a silence more deafening than any public scandal. Meghan Markle, once celebrated as the modernizing breath of fresh air the monarchy desperately needed, now finds herself entirely severed from the royal machine. Her titles may still remain in ceremonial form, but the reality is far bleaker. All remaining patronages have been rescinded, the honorary military roles she had cherished gone. Invitations that once arrived on gold-rimmed stationery have long ceased, replaced by silence. And even more cutting, according to sources close to the palace, is the quiet ban on direct communication with her. There are no briefings, no updates, no inclusion in any matter that bears the royal seal. Meghan has not just been removed, she has been erased. Even her final attempt at a personal outreach to the Queen herself was met with absence. A handwritten letter, said to be filled with both apology and reflection, was reportedly never answered. Some insiders say it was intercepted, others suggest it was read but purposefully ignored. Regardless of the truth, the impact on Meghan was devastating. This wasn't just about falling out of favor, this was about being locked out of a future she had once fought so hard to earn a place in. In Montecito, she now moves through a life of luxury laced with isolation. Those who once filled her home, advisors, collaborators, hopeful allies, have dwindled to one constant: Oprah. The same woman who helped her ignite her narrative now remains as one of the few figures still orbiting her diminished world. Harry, too, is no longer the defiant voice he once was. As the institution turns its back on his wife, he grows quieter, more distant. Those closest to him say he's caught in a slow-burning internal collapse, torn between his loyalty to Meghan and the heritage that still pulses through his veins. His silence, once strategic, now feels like surrender. And for the public, the spectacle has become something else entirely. With the dust beginning to settle, a new narrative begins to emerge. Was Meghan a victim of an outdated system that couldn't bend? Or was she a force that tried to remake it and burned too many bridges along the way? The debate rages on, dividing commentators, politicians, and even fans into fierce factions. The fairy tale had long since died, but now, the autopsy was public. The woman once poised to redefine royalty now stands outside its gates not as a rebel but as a cautionary tale. And as her voice fades from palace halls and official records, what remains is the echo of what could have been a legacy rewritten, not by her own hand, but by those who refused to let her in. Yet even in the ashes of rejection, one final twist emerges: an unexpected reaction from someone no one expected to speak at all. Just when the world believed Harry had retreated in silence, he broke, and what he revealed was more than just pain. It was a confession that tore through the last illusion of royal unity. The letter appeared without warning. No press release, no television interview, just a post titled "My Truth," shared in his own words, raw and unfiltered. What followed wasn't a carefully curated message from a media team. It was an emotional unraveling, decades in the making. In the first paragraph, Harry addressed the unspoken. He admitted that he hadn't done enough, that through all the noise he had failed to protect the one person who had asked only to be seen, heard, and respected. "I should have stood louder, sooner, stronger," he wrote. "I should have stopped it before it swallowed her whole." It wasn't an accusation. It was an apology, a personal reckoning with the cost of choosing loyalty to two worlds that could never coexist. Then came the most chilling revelation of all. The rift with William, long speculated but always downplayed, was deeper and darker than the public had ever known. "It's worse than you think," he wrote. "What's broken between us wasn't caused by one event, it was layered, generational, inevitable." The admission cast a new shadow over every photo, every forced smile, every moment they stood side by side pretending unity. And still, Harry went further. He revealed the toll this chapter had taken on his own psyche. The fame, the scrutiny, the fight to defend his wife while still yearning for the family that shaped him. It had left scars too deep to hide. "I lost more than just my family," he confessed. "I lost pieces of myself I may never get back." But it was his reflection on Meghan that struck the deepest blow. With painful honesty, Harry suggested that her time in the spotlight may be done forever, not by choice, but by necessity. "She gave everything to a system that gave her nothing in return," he wrote. "I don't know if she'll ever trust the public eye again." It wasn't a farewell, but it was close. A quiet acknowledgement that Meghan's voice, once so loud and transformative, had been buried under the weight of the very tradition she tried to humanize. The letter closed with a line that left readers shattered, a sentence that echoed not just regret, but a haunting sense of finality. "Forgive me," Harry wrote, "for staying too long." In 10 words, he dismantled the myth of control, the illusion of strategy, and revealed a man undone by choices he once believed he could manage. The world read, reacted, and reeled. Some saw bravery, others saw weakness. But all agreed on one thing: this was no longer just a royal conflict. It was a human tragedy playing out on the grandest stage of all. This may be the end of Meghan's royal journey, but the questions it leaves behind will haunt the palace for years to come. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.